Nudgestock to invite me to this occasion, and I'm very honored to speak about horror here to you guys and sharing a horror experience case from where I'm working as a business anthropologist in Rhizome, Shanghai. So actually creating horror experiences actually is becoming a very big market in China nowadays. Like there's numerous of horror movies and horror games, but to meet this demand very successfully, if you would like to make a very extremely successful horror experiences, the challenge is actually is not about understanding horror itself, but also more importantly is that we can help people to remember to make this horror experience unforgettable, and they will like to repeatedly experience it one again and again. So here will show you a case study, and where I work with my team to collaborate with the designers to showcase the how of horror, and also identifying the different layers of horror, and also the identifying the auto experiencing loop, which we used to help the designers to make the most successful horror experiences in China nowadays. So when it comes to this horror, actually there are different layers of horror things. The first thing here I present is about shock. So shock is something happening out of blue, which is very common even in our daily lives. For example, you get shocked by a friend tapping you from behind. But shock in most cases is it is a very instant react. So people wouldn't remember this shocking experience very long. It is easily fade away. And also there are second layers about horror. It's disgusting. So when it comes to disgusting, usually it is about disorder. So in most cases, people will get disgusted by actually a potential threat to their life instinct. For example, a pile of blood indicates to people a pile of blood, and also the body parts, and sometimes a dead body, and dead people walking around. It usually indicates that there is a life threat. So that's the second layer for horror, and there are a lot of horror movies and horror games are talking about this kind of feelings. But in some cases, people usually get very negative feelings about disgusting, so which makes them quit the experience of horror, and also they will feel that very disappointed and even very sad feelings that which makes them they quit these horror feelings. So that's something that we wouldn't like, we wouldn't want our consumers to experience. And when it comes to the very deepest feelings, the third layers of horror is the fear. So fear usually comes from these abnormal experiences, and the point for fear is that it is highly contextual. So which means that it had something to do with this interaction and immersion into a very cultural context. But in this cultural context, people will the memories and experiences for this fear thing is highly unforgettable for people. So after many years, they would recall this kind of memories and still cause this kind of fear feelings in their minds. And this is what we call the vigorous feelings. But the point, the fear thing actually is very long-term memory and is unforgettable. But the point for fear, for the making of fear experience is that it is sometimes you should choose the right context. You should make the right context for the right people. So it is highly contextual and cultural. People from different cultures will get feared by different settings and different symbols. Let me give you some examples here. For example, the vampire is a very commonly seen characteristic of fear experiences in the Western world. But actually, in the Chinese context, we don't have such things as vampire. What we have is the picture I showed here in the slides in the right part, is that what we call zombies. So you can see that the poster characters they showed totally different settings and different clothes and even different arrangements in the making of horror experiences. And the second example lies in this dragon thing. I think some of you might be aware of that already. Dragon in China we call it long, but dragon in Western countries usually symbolizes evil things. So a long is usually a symbol of bad or evil, or even something that people don't want to get close to. But in China, the long actually symbolizes the health and the good life, and also the blessed from heaven. So people even worshipped about long, and long usually appears in many important social occasions, life occasions. So this is another example for that how people get terrified in different cultures by different symbols. And here, the third example I like to show here is that this is picture comes from an example of one of our ghost houses, the Kowloon town. And I think most of you wouldn't be terrified by this picture, right? And the first feelings that comes to your mind might be curious about this. And you've no idea what this picture shows. Actually, this is a very commonly seen scenario in China when it comes to April or August. The 2 months are the time when the Chinese people worship and showing offerings to the dead and to their ancestors. So usually people would choose a big night and with a very clear with clear sky, and they would find a crossroad where few people would passing by, and they would draw a line on the ground with a white chalk, just like the picture, and they would burn out the paper monies and the paper craftsmanships as an offering to the dead. So in the summertime, usually in the early summer to the late summer, like from April to August, people would usually account with this kind of scene when they were walking in the midnight. But in most cases, they would get terrified because they would have no idea that this is the real life, or if you have been into a ghost world. And when it comes to the loop of horror feelings, you can see that when people are experiencing horror, the first thing is that they would get terrified. But if you only have terrified experiences in these whole horror experiences, people would easily get tired, and they wouldn't feel these horror experiences as the most unforgettable ones in their life. So when we are talking about people and we are sharing these horror experiences with our consumers, you can find that there were other feelings for them and other demands for them to experience in these horror experiences. The first thing is about self-construction. So they would like to feel that they have accomplished something and they have overcome something when they are going into the ghost house. And also after the horror experiences, they would like to feel that they have been surviving. So people will get highly emotional and even moved when they feel that they've been survived from some very terrible experiences, and they would get together and talking about the surviving feelings and even celebrating about them. So this is a very complete loop for people to experience horror in the real game house. So I can show you another example from our real game house. So this picture actually is taken in the real game house, the horror hospital. So in this, it is a kind of a hallway, and it brings a challenge to the consumers, because when they were first enter into this hallway, they can see that there is nothing very special about this hallway. The lights are all on, and there was nothing that could show they could present a shock to consumers. But so it is a passively entry for the consumers to take the challenge. But after they step into this hallway, the lights will be gradually turned off, and there were big voices coming from nowhere. So they would initially imagine that there's maybe something happening behind the walls, and it is this imagination that makes this hallway very terrified by them. But there was no choices for them to going back. So after they pass through the hallway, there will be a very small room full of lights, and even some friends and colleagues waiting for them. So they were encountered into a comfort zone around the corner, but only after they passed the hallway. So using this hallway as we can make consumers to experience the whole loop from getting terrified, and they complete the task and they experience the self-contraction, and finally they feel survived and has a very ritual moment of celebration is surviving. So this is the case about the horror experiences, and we have been made the most successful ghost house in China ever after. And I would like to, if you have any questions or any comments to share, you can raise now, or you can just email me. And thank you very much. Thanks again.